you can count on us. This is 7 News Good Morning Fort Sill.
Well, good morning. Thanks for joining us on your Thursday edition of Good Morning Fort Sill.
We got a lot to get to today, including a bunch of upcoming Veterans Day events. But first, let's check in with Michael to see about this morning's PT forecast. Really not a bad morning out there so far, Michael.
Yeah, pretty mild.
Yeah, pretty mild if you consider the temperature and where we are this time of year. Currently, it is 54 degrees at Fort Sill with clear skies, so pretty decent out there. Only about a 1 degree temperature change compared to yesterday. And your PT forecast temperatures are generally be falling into the upper 40s and lower 50s, so not bad out there. Clear skies for the most part. There could be a few clouds entering the atmosphere, but other than that, pretty decent. Looking at satellite and radar, you can see these clear skies, but we may have a few more clouds coming in from the northwest. You do have a boundary that's just to the southwest of us that came through yesterday. It will lift up to the north, so winds will be switching from the north back to the south later on today. And you can see the big picture. There is an upper level trough in the Pacific Northwest that will continue to push off towards into Canada. Looking at Altus right now, you can see pretty clear skies and a beautiful scenery out there. Yesterday we had a high of 80 degrees, which is well above average for what we should be seeing this time of year. Our low is just slightly above average with what we saw. And elsewhere we saw a high of 80 down in Wichita Falls, 79 in Frederick, 75 in Altus, 78 in Chickasha, and 70 in Elk City.
Travelers at some of the busiest airports in the U.S. can expect to see fewer flights as the government shutdown drags on.
As Nicole D'Antonio reports, massive safety concerns are grounding flights as GOP and Democratic lawmakers are still deadlocked on Capitol Hill.
This morning, the government shutdown reaching day 37 and putting a growing strain on air travel. The FAA reducing flight capacity by up to 10%, impacting thousands of domestic flights at nearly 40 major airports by this weekend. ABC News overnight exclusively obtaining the list of the 40 airports that will be affected, from Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta to LAX in Los Angeles, and from Miami to JFK in New York.
This is about where is the pressure and how do we alleviate the pressure.
It comes as air traffic controllers and TSA officers go nearly 6 weeks without pay and are now increasingly calling out sick. In the meantime, FAA employees warn the impacts on air safety could get worse the longer the shutdown drags on.
We wish to stay vigilant when we want to, and we have every intent to, but at some point, if it's between me and my pride versus my son going without not eating or my wife not being able to take her medication, I will be forced to make a decision.
Overnight, United Airlines saying it will offer refunds to anyone who does not wish to fly while the flight reductions are in effect. Frontier CEO going further, making this recommendation. If your flight is canceled, your chances of being stranded are high, so I would simply have a backup ticket on another airline. On Capitol Hill, cuts to Medicaid and health care subsidies are still the major sticking point, with both sides refusing to budge. And sources say the FAA will begin cutting 4% of flights tomorrow, will then ramp up to 10% of flights through this coming weekend if the government is still shut down. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
Thanks, Nicole. Well, the Department of Veterans Affairs says that the shutdown is impacting services for more than 1 million veterans.
Because some VA funding is provided in advance by Congress, the department says core health care operations remain functioning, including medical centers, outpatient clinics, and veterans centers.
Veterans are still receiving their benefits, such as pensions, education, and housing assistance. However, programs such as the GI Bill hotline and Veterans Readiness and Employment staff were placed on furlough.
Well, Dan, I know you went to the Veterans Resource Fair at Cameron yesterday and spoke with some folks about the effects of the shutdown.
I did, and you know, there are definitely some of these concerns were raised. As a matter of fact, the local VA office that normally is at that Veterans Fair wasn't there due to the shutdown. Additionally, you know, regarding some of those GI Bill and some of those other educational benefits. So the GI Bill is being paid. However, the hotline itself, those employees are furloughed. So if you have any problems with your GI Bill right now or any of those educational benefits, you can't call anybody to actually get any resolution, which is tough. And then I know we ran a story about this, I think a few weeks ago, the Chapter 35 benefits that are specific to educational benefits for dependents of disabled veterans. Those are basically have stopped due to, it was a system glitch. However, all of the employees that could fix, like the tech employees that could fix that system glitch, they've been furloughed. So it's just, we're all hoping that this ends sooner rather than later.
I mean, we're trying to get through this with minimum impact,
Sure.
but, if it keeps going, you're going to see that impact be felt more and more. For sure.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is pledging his support for veterans benefits and support programs as GOP lawmakers push for reforms at the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Now, Jeffries says that veterans need to, quote, be treated with respect and dignity they deserve. An October 6 Washington Post report pointed to cases of abuse in the disability compensation system that delivered $193 billion in veterans benefits in fiscal year 2025.
Veterans advocacy groups and Democratic lawmakers disputed the findings in the Post report, say more programs need to be put in place to help veterans.
Well, we just talked about this, so it is day 2 of the Veterans Resource Fair at Cameron University.
Yeah, it's a chance for vets and their families to get valuable information. The 2-day event got underway yesterday at CU's McMahon Centennial Complex.
Organizations such as the Oklahoma Department of Veterans Affairs and the Federal VA Vet Center are there providing information on important medical, occupational, and educational opportunities that are open to our nation's soldiers and veterans.
And those groups are happy to lend a hand, especially during these trying times.
It's always gratifying for me to be able to do this. I'm in my 40th year at Cameron, and so I'm really excited this year because it's kind of a special year to me, and it's being able to help our active duty military service personnel and our veterans to be able to connect with people, to help them to get the resources they need to improve the quality of life that their quality of life. So that's what is very special to me and moves my heart.
The Resource Fair continues today from 9 o'clock this morning till 3 o'clock this afternoon on the first floor of the McMahon Centennial Complex. And it's a difficult time for furloughed federal workers who aren't sure when their next paycheck might come.
Well, with that in mind, the FISTA and the City of Lawton, they teamed up to bring those workers some much-needed relief with their own resource fair yesterday. Several community organizations and businesses from Comanche County, from the Comanche County Health Department, the Bank First, and even the United Way were able to speak with local federal employees and explain what resources are available for them right here in Southwest Oklahoma.
This is a difficult time for many of our community citizens, and so we want people to come in and take advantage of these resources and these opportunities, not just today, but these partner agencies are ongoing in their support. And so meet these people, come and talk to them, get their business cards, and that way they can help us go through this together.
While the resource fair is over, Dr. Ratliff says that the FISTA will keep standing with the community as the shutdown continues. Fort Sill National Cemetery in Elgin will be honoring all veterans laid to rest there by placing flags at grave sites for Veterans Day. Yeah,
flag placement starts at 9 o'clock this morning. The cemetery is looking for volunteers. Everyone's welcome. You just have to show up in comfortable shoes and be ready for work.
And volunteers will also be needed for the recovery of those flags, which will take place the day after Veterans Day on November 12th.
And Disabled American Veterans is holding a Veteran Appreciation Fund Drive this week. Money collected will be used to fund the chapter's ability to help vets get the services and benefits they deserve. You can donate in person at the Golden Corral here in Lawton beginning tomorrow all the way until Veterans Day. For more information, you can check out our community calendar page on our website. And the Lawton Fort Sill Veterans Center is gearing up for the 3rd annual Steps Under Stars and Stripes Walk.
This is always a pretty cool event, you know. And, the 24-hour walk will begin at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon at the Veterans Center on Flower Mound Road. Businesses, organizations, and individuals can sign up for 1-hour increments carrying a flag until 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. That flag will then be presented to all the veterans in attendance. It's a chance for the community to show our vets love, respect, and appreciation for their service to our country. Now, the VFW Post 1193 has announced that they will be hosting their monthly Feed the Community event this weekend. Each meal is completely free and will be offered on Saturday from noon until 3 at Post 1193. This month's menu includes turkey, ham, collard greens, dirty rice, and much more.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Well, USO Entertainment is bringing comedian Chris Gether to Fort Sill's historic Patriot Club next Friday, November 14th. Now, whether you're a diehard fan or just someone who enjoys laughing and until you snort. This is the show for you. The 1 hour show starts at 7 o'clock. It's free and open to adults 18 years and older. For more info, you can visit the USO Oklahoma Facebook page.
And Thanksgiving is just around the corner, but it's never too early to snag a pic with the main man of Christmas himself, Santa Claus. Shepherd Air Force Base is inviting kiddos and young at heart to come get a pic with St. Nick on November 15th at the Welcome Center Ballroom. Kris Kringle will be available for pictures from noon until 3:30. This event is free and open to everyone.
Altus Air Force Base is also getting in on the holiday season with their Gobble Trot 5K run this month. That event will take place Friday, November 21st, beginning at 7 a.m. outside of the base gym. Organizers are asking participants to bring reflective gear so they can be seen by cars while running while it's still a little bit dark outside. For more information, you can visit Altus FSS's Facebook page.
Well, the Air Force is changing their policies on mustaches and sideburns for service members. Coming up, we'll take a look at what's making the news around the forces.
This 7 News broadcast is sponsored by Southwest Buick GMC. Every evening,
a man charged in a deadly hit and run from 2023 has been sentenced.
7 News is working for you.
There's another shakeup in the Lawton City Council as another member announces their resignation.
Your first alert for what's next.
That triple-digit heat that you saw in those 2 towns, that'll be throughout most of our areas we heading in next week.
Uncovering breaking stories that impact Texoma.
The Lawton Firefighters Association is raising awareness about critical staffing issues.
7 News, working for you every night at 10. KSWO and the Lawton Fort Sill community want to thank our service members and their families for their service and sacrifice. We are extremely proud of your courage, dedication, and daily commitment to protecting our freedoms. To recent graduates and their extended families, congratulations on your accomplishment and welcome to our community. Lawton Fort Sill is a unique area like no other in the country. With our strong working relationship with our armed forces, thank you for everything you do for us. Here's your first alert forecast with meteorologist Michael Amanqua.
And good morning, everyone. Looking at our current temperatures across the area, we're still sitting in the anywhere between the upper 40s and then a few low 50s, even some upper 50s. Currently, it's 54 in Lawton and Fort Sill, 45 in Hobart, 47 in Anadarko, 51 in Altus right now, 53 in Frederick, and 50 down in Monday. Looking at a 24-hour temperature change, a little bit warmer than we were this time yesterday, with the exception of our few northwestern and western counties. So we're starting a warming trend. We did have a boundary that moved through yesterday, currently sitting just to our southeast. It will slowly move northward as we go throughout the morning hours, so you'll notice a wind shift from the northeast to the south. Currently, relative humidity values anywhere between 80-90%. We can't rule out maybe some patchy fog in our southeastern counties later on this morning. Wind speeds are pretty calm, but they will be slowly switching to the south as that weak front that moved through yesterday turns into a warm front, essentially moving northward, bringing in a little bit warmer air at this time. Looking at current conditions right now, there is that boundary just to our southeast, slowly moving toward the north and northeast. It'll be well to our north by the time we get to the afternoon and evening hours. And what we're expecting right now, there is another trough that is currently in the Pacific Northwest. That's actually going to move towards the northeast and not really impact us. But this little short wave that you see way out in the Pacific, this is going to be responsible for bringing in much cooler air, especially as you go into your late Saturday afternoon, evening, and into your Sunday. As it makes its way across the Midwest during the weekend, it's going to pull that cold air. So expect much cooler conditions as you go into the start of next week.
Well, Kyle, facial hair has been a hot topic across all branches of service in the Air Force. I'd have to shave if I were to get back in right now. So the Air Force has released new regulations on the length of mustaches and sideburns.
So under the new guidance, sideburns must be above the ear opening, and the mustaches are prohibited from going beyond the corners of the mouth. Now get this, mustaches must be neatly trimmed, so handlebar styles, this is disappointing, twist, curls, and goatees, all prohibited.
Oh, geez. Well, beards are not authorized unless for medical reasons, recommended by a medical officer or official and approved by applicable unit commander, or as authorized pursuant to a religious accommodation request. So the policy comes following War Secretary Pete Hegseth's speech to top military officers in Quantico, Virginia.
So the only dining facility at the Army base in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas has closed due to a lack of funding.
So while there are other third-party dining options on or near the base, the on-base facility is the easiest option for junior enlisted living in the barracks. By law, all active duty soldiers receive basic allowance for subsistence, except those that are in basic training or in similar situations.
So soldiers living in the barracks or other government quarters have enlisted subsistence management status, which provides them with meal plans at on-base dining facilities.
It'll actually be kind of interesting to see how. I'm sure Fort Leavenworth, leadership is trying to determine a way for enlisted soldiers, because you get a meal card. You don't get money, so you get, if the dining hall isn't open.
It's kind of like being back in college when you used to have to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the Marine Corps has announced a slew of enlistment bonuses aimed at recruits who enter high-tech jobs.
So the Corps is offering new recruits up to $15,000 for taking on electronic maintenance, cyber, and cryptologic jobs. Recruits in more than 100 military occupational specialties, ranging from open contracts to logistics and infantry, can collect $5,000 or $10,000 in a shipping bonus by agreeing to let the service pick the date that they ship out. Well, on this day in military history, 165 years ago, Abraham Lincoln was elected as the 16th president of the United States.
However, his election did not come without controversy. Lincoln was the first president elected with less than 50% of the popular vote. By the time Lincoln was inaugurated in March of 1861, 7 southern states had seceded from the Union.
Now, 1 month later, the Civil War began and lasted throughout Lincoln's time in the White House. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, and was re-elected in 1864.
Now, the Civil War effectively ended on April 9th of 1865 when Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered. Just 5 days later, on April 14th, President Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth.
Well, a program aimed at teaching STEM to students across the country is struggling to stay afloat due to the federal government shutdown. Coming up, we'll take a look at the state of the Starbase program in the state of Louisiana.
This 7 News broadcast is sponsored by Southwest Buick GMC. Every evening,
a man charged in a deadly hit and run from 2023 has been sentenced.
7 News is working for you.
There's another shakeup in the Lawton City Council as another member announces their resignation.
Your first alert for what's next.
That triple-digit heat that you saw in those 2 towns, that'll be throughout most of our areas we heading in next week.
Uncovering breaking stories that impact Texoma.
The Lawton Firefighters Association is raising awareness about critical staffing issues.
7 News, working for you every night at 10. KSWO and the Lawton Fort Sill community want to thank our service members and their families for their service and sacrifice. We are extremely proud of your courage, dedication, and daily commitment to protecting our freedoms. To recent graduates and their extended families, congratulations on your accomplishment and welcome to our community. Lawton Fort Sill is a unique area like no other in the country, with our strong working relationship with our armed forces. Thank you for everything you do for us.
Well, as the nation grapples with the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, a local school board in Louisiana is stepping up to ensure that a vital educational program for children doesn't fall victim to federal funding freezes.
That's right. Peyton Manuel has more on the future of Starbase in the Pelican State.
Programs that were once federally funded have come to a stop as the U.S. enters its longest government shutdown. Starbase is one of those programs. Their goal once focused on teaching students STEM skills outside the classroom. Now they're focused on trying to stay afloat.
We do exclusively the 5th grade to help prepare those kids as they head into middle school.
Starbase Louisiana over at the Barksdale Air Force Base says they lost funding on October 1st. They managed to keep the doors open through the month. Since the shutdown has stretched on, Executive Director Richard Scott says the program has needed more help. As a result, Superintendent of Bossier Parish Schools Jason Rowland says the school board met Tuesday and voted to fund the program themselves.
They do some amazing things. They really do. They have a heart for kids. They have a heart for Barksdale. They have a heart for Starbase. They want to see how our kids get the best experience possible.
Rowland says the funding will come from the Bossier Educational Excellence Fund, also known as the B Fund. It's expected to keep the program running through December. I asked what other steps the board is prepared to take in the event the shutdown lasts longer.
If whatever's going on in politics interferes with what we're doing in the education world, then we're going to remove the politics and we'll take over if we need to.
In other words, the board will continue funding Starbase through the B Fund for as long as they need to, and it wouldn't be the first time. Rowland says the school board used the same fund to finance the same program during the last government shutdown in 2019. The money was reimbursed after the government reopened, though that isn't a guarantee this time. He says the risk is worth the reward.
Other systems, by and large, probably couldn't do this. That's why the other star bases around the country shut the doors on Monday.
So every year, hundreds, real quick on that particular story. I think we pulled the other story after this. So Starbase is actually here in Oklahoma too, and I think your son's in that program.
Yeah, he actually is going through it this week. He absolutely loves it. You know, it's a great experience for those kids to get some different kind of learning, right? Some different kind of educational support, for sure.
Yeah, but the good news is, at least right now, the Starbase program is run by the Oklahoma National Guard here in Oklahoma, and it hasn't been affected just yet, and hopefully it continues.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, every year, hundreds of veterans struggle to access critical resources.
That's right. For the past 20 years, a nonprofit in the Florida Panhandle has stepped in to help via a veteran stand-down event. The event includes mental health resources, housing help, as well as financial and job assistance.
Protecting those who have served our nation is especially important right now in the midst of the shutdown and with the holidays right around the corner.
Veterans have served this country. They're heroes, so they may need assistance at some point in their lives. So helping homeless veterans is a very serious thing that we do and we try to do for years and years to come. So it's very important for them to get help.
We've spent 2 years trying to find this information otherwise. Just today, like I said, I've gone to 6 or 8 different booths, and they've assisted me in legal affairs, you know, what to do when I get hurt, what to do when I eventually pass away. This is exciting.
Well, South Dakota man who stepped in to help his uncle with this year's harvest quickly figured out that he was in over his head, so he reached out for help from some of the most dependable people that he knows, his old Army battle buddies.
Amelia Roberts details how former service members banded together one last time to finish the mission.
When the crops were ready but the odds were stacked against him, one South Dakota farmer learned that sometimes help comes from the people who've already had your back, long before harvest season.
Farming can be hard, but for John's uncle, battling health issues made it nearly impossible.
You know, what was he going to do? He couldn't get in and out of tractors. He couldn't get in and out of the sprayer and the combine at the time because he was going through all these health issues.
That's when family, and later a few old friends, stepped in.
And I knew it would be tough to try to find somebody. And I thought I was going to make 20 phone calls and get 20 people that told me, well, you know, I'm already busy, or I've got this going on, or I work for that farm. And I called Mike up, and without any hesitation, he said, when do you want me there?
That call brought an old Army friend all the way from Arizona. And not long after, another Army buddy from Ohio showed up to lend a hand too. The 3 men served together in Iraq, and now they're back in the field for a different kind of mission.
Like I say, I mean, we went 20 years without talking to each other, and it was like as soon as we linked back up, it was just like we were hanging out yesterday.
We've learned a lot more about each other now than we did back then. Back then it was always on the go, get on the mission, discuss mission-related things, and occasionally have personal conversations. But now we're getting to really know each other on a personal level. It's grown our friendship quite a bit, I think.
And for John's Uncle Dwight, watching this harvest be completed means more than words can say.
Yeah, it means the world to me.